Okay, you guys, we are going to do the second part. I broke it into 2 videos just because, well, I just did. Okay, so these marks indicate that that is an isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangles have base angles that are the same. So this is 41 and this is 41. So we know the whole thing is 180, so I'm going to do 180 minus 41 minus 41. I could have added those together to got 82. Either way, doesn't matter. Let me get a calculator just so I don't make any mistakes for us. So it's 180 minus 41 minus 41. That gives me 98 degrees. So x is going to equal 98 degrees. Now, for the second one, same thing, indicated to be isosceles, which means if this is 41, so is angle 2. It's also 41 degrees. So you take the expression that it's equal to, and you'll say x plus 48 is equal to 41. So you'll set it equal to 41. Then you can just subtract 48, which I know is like freaking everyone out because they're like, it can't be negative. But the x is fine to be negative. Negative 7. When you plug that back in, negative 7 plus 48, that gives you 41 degrees, which is what we wanted it to be. So your answer is x equals negative 7. That is correct. Okay, on number 28, we are going to have to either take half of this, because, okay, the middle, this is equal to half of the base, or what we can do instead of having to deal with a half and deal with the fraction is we can double this one. So I'm going to multiply this middle segment, that expression, by 2, and set it equal to the base, which is x plus 18. So then, instead of distributing a half, I can just distribute a 2. If you already did yours and you distributed a half, your answer should still be the same as mine. Okay, now I'm going to get my x's together, so I'm going to subtract an x. That gives me 3x. Bring down my 48 equals 18, and then I'm going to subtract 48. So 18 minus 48 is negative 30. So I'll have 3x equals negative 30. Then I have to divide by 3. So x equals negative 10. Okay, number 29. If I look at that, it says that we have a median. Remember that the median connects the midpoint of a segment to the vertex. So T is the midpoint of this segment, which means if this is 10x and this is 11x minus 1, those two expressions are equivalent. So I'm going to set them equal to each other, and then I'm going to solve. Subtract 11x. That gives me negative 1x equals negative 1. Then I'm going to divide by negative 1. So then that gives me x equals positive 1. Okay? Now, this one was one of the ones that is probably the most challenging on the, or more challenging on the test, because you do have to remember the rule. Where the medians meet is not halfway. RA is actually 2/3 of the entire line. So when you write that out, you just write out RA is equal to 2/3 of RK. And then you can plug in. So RA is 3x minus 1. That's equal to 2/3 RK, which is 5x minus 3. So then, from there, we distribute. That's going to give me a fraction, 10 over 3x, which is fine. And then this one would be negative 6 over 3, because 2 times negative 3 is negative 6 divided by 3. That's actually just going to be negative 2. All right? Again, you can use your calculator. If you're like, I'm lost, use your calculator. So I'm going to move this to the other side. Okay, and if you think about this as a mixed number instead of an improper fraction, 3 goes into 10 3 times. That would be 9. So you're left with 1 leftover. So that would be the mixed number that's equivalent to. So your positive 3 and your negative 3 are going to cancel each other out, and you're just going to be left with 1/3 x. You could also use a calculator to do that, just subtract, but this is going to be your 1/3 x. I'm going to bring down the 1 equal to -2. Add 1, 1/3 x is equal to -1. I have to then multiply. Did I do this right? Y'all, this is negative. Sorry. So these cancel each other out, but this is still negative. This is still negative. Sorry, that's still negative. So then I have to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm multiplying by -3 on both sides. So x is equal to +3. So x equals +3, and that's your answer. Okay? All right, on this next one, you're identifying what this is. This is a kite. You know it's a kite because these two are the same, and these two are the same, and they are connected. Remember, if you don't know how to justify that you can go and you can do a Google search and figure out the definition for what a kite is. So, you can see it here. It's got all kinds of information. I mean, a kite is a quadrilateral with 4 sides, can be grouped into 2 pairs. So, you can't see that. So this is what I'm saying. Use your technology to help you figure out what a kite is. 2 pairs of equal length adjacent sides. So either way, make sure you justify that. Give me a definition. This is a square. This is a rhombus. This is a trapezoid. Okay. On this one, number 35, these 2 sides, this is on a parallelogram. Remember, a parallelogram is 2 sets of parallel sides, and the opposite sides are going to be congruent. So I'm just going to set those 2 equal to each other, and then I'm going to solve. So I'm going to add the 1 over here. So 12 equals 4x. I'm going to divide by 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So x is going to equal 3. Now this one is not that case. These two are not congruent to each other. They are going to be supplementary, which means I'm going to add those 2 things together, set it equal to 180. So I'm going to subtract 85. So 95x is equal to 180 minus 85. That's equal to 95. You divide by 95, so x is going to equal 1. Okay? 37, this is a trapezoid, and you are looking for the mid segment. This is when you do top plus bottom divided by 2 is equal to the middle. Remember that? So top plus bottom would be 18 plus 16 divided by 2 is equal to x plus 6. So 18 plus 16 is 34 divided by 2. That gives you 17. So 17 is equal to x plus 6. 17 is equal to x plus 6. You subtract the 6. So x is equal to 11. X is equal to 11. All right, so then on number 38, you're dealing with a quadrilateral. So you know the sum of the entire quadrilateral is 360 degrees. That's the entire thing. So basically you just need to subtract out each of the given angles so that you can get that. So I'm going to do 360 minus 98 minus 102. Whoops, I didn't do minus, I did plus. Minus 102 minus 82. And that's going to leave me with 78. So that is going to be 78 degrees. Okay? For this one, same thing that we just talked about. These two are supplementary, which means when you add them together, they should equal 180. Add those together so I'm equal. So 8x and 9x gives me 17x. Negative 9 and 2 is going to give me negative 7 equals 180. Okay, now I'm ready to go to the opposite side. So I'm going to add 7. 17x equals 187. So I'm going to rewrite that over here so I have some more space. I'm going to then divide by 17. 187 divided by 17 is 11. Perfect. On this next one, we're talking about similarity. Remember, anytime you talk about similarity, they are going to have a same ratio. So you can set up your fractions, your ratios, and you can do the butterfly method and cross multiply. So we have to make sure we are using the corresponding sides. So this unknown is going to be my x and our 15. X corresponds to 7, so I'm going to have x over 7. Since I started with the larger figure and have x on top, 15 needs to be on top, and it corresponds to 3. Then you just cross multiply. X times 3 is 3x. 15 times 7 is 105. Then you divide. So, x is 35. That's 35. Okay, same thing over here. Again, you're dealing with your corresponding sides. If this is my unknown, it corresponds to the side 21. Those two correspond. I started with this, so I need to start with this rectangle on top again. So 8 is going to go on top. It corresponds to 12. Cross multiply. X times 12 is 12x. 21 times 8 is 168 divided by 12. So x equals 14. Okay. On this same thing, they're similar, so we're going to use our rules for similarity, and we are going to set up our proportions. This is my unknown, so I'm going to have 2x minus 4. It corresponds to 24. So I have those two stacked, and then since I did this on top, 35 has to be on top because those two are from the same rectangle. They're both on top. 35 corresponds to 42. Then you cross multiply and divide. Remember, this is a binomial times a monomial. So you have to do the distributive property. I'm going to write that out so you can actually see what I'm doing. And then these you can just multiply like normal, monomial times monomial. So 24 times 35 is 840. Now I am going to distribute here. 42 times 2 is 84x, and 42 times negative 4 is negative 168. That equals 840. Then I'm going to add 168 to 840. Whoops. That gives me 1008. I'm just using my calculator to make sure I don't make any simple mistakes on this video. Plus, I just like to use my calculator. 1008 divided by 84, that gives me 12. So x equals 12. Okay? Then for number 43 over here, we again are looking for this unknown. So this unknown, 2x plus 8, corresponds to 6. Now, since I put 2x plus 8 on top, I'm also going to put 12 on top, and it corresponds to 3. Again, I'm going to cross multiply a binomial times a monomial, so I have to do the distributive property. Then we have 6 times 12. 6 times 12, whoops, is 72. Then I have to do the distributive property. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times 8 is 24. That's equal to 72. We subtract out 24. 72 minus 24 is 48. So 6x equals 48. Divide by 6, x equals 8. Okay? Almost done. Okay, last page, number 44, up at the top. Okay, we know the whole segment's 12. Whoops, sorry. We know the whole segment's 12, so that means this little piece is 4. Because we have parallel lines, that means their parts are going to be proportionate. And you can set those proportions up several different ways. I'm going to say x minus 1 over 12 is equal to 4 over 8. Do it that way. And then again, cross multiply. I'm not going to write this one out. I'm going to do this in my head. Hopefully you can follow along. 8 times x is 8x. 8 times negative 1 is negative 8. So I just distributed in my head. And then 4 times 12 is 48. I'm going to add 8 to that. That gives me 56. 8x equals 56, so I'm going to divide by 8. So x equals 7. Okay, number 45. These are the ones that we just did. This is the geometric mean. Remember, there are two methods, the T method or the check method. This first one right here is a T. So we're going to start with the 9, short side over 12, short side over 12, and then back up, 12 over x. Just like that. So 9 times x is 9x. 12 times 12 is 144. Divide by 9. 144 divided by 9 is 16. So x equals 16. That's with the T method. This one over here, though, is the check method. So you again start with 9, but go outward to 15. 9 over 15 is equal to 15 over the entire bottom, which is x. That's our unknown. So then we multiply 9 times x, which gives us 9x. 15 times 15, which gives me 225, I think. Let me just double check. Yes, 225. Divide that by 9. That gives me 25. Okay? Then I have 47 right here. So I am going to set up a proportion because they are similar, but you've got to make sure you have the correct parts. So clearly 6 corresponds to 48. Because those are both the short sides. But you can see GH is the last two, RS is the last two, so their names correspond, so we're good. I started with 6 on top, so 10 also needs to be on top. 10 is GF, your first two letters, so I'm comparing it to TS, which is the first two letters, and that's going to be 5x plus 20. Again, I'm going to cross multiply 6 times 5 is going to be 30x. 6 times 20 is going to be 300, I think. Nope. 6 times 20 is 120. Just ignore everything I just said. That's dumb. Is equal to 480. I'm going to subtract out 120. So 30 is equal to...
Teacher's partner's interruption. Jackie,
360.
Before we go to lunch, congratulations to both the boys
Divide
and
by
girls
30.
soccer teams. 2 very exciting games last night.
X equals
the girls
12.
actually finished the game tied with Captain Shreve 1-1 and took them in PKs.
UF.
Very exciting. Very proud of you ladies. You did a great job last night. The boys played afterwards after a bit of a delay and defeated Captain Shreve 2-0. So clean sweep last night. Great job to both the boys and the girls soccer teams. Jackie, beautiful weather outside. The gym will be closed during lunch other than to walk through and use the restroom. Thank you.
Okay, so then you've got your F and your U. Okay, so that's this segment here. And you're probably thinking it's a bow tie and corresponds to 65. But it actually doesn't, because this is the first and the last letter, so it actually compares to FH on this side, so it's over 60. So be careful to match their names, not just assume it's a bow tie, okay? So I started with this triangle on top, so that means 13 is going to be on top. That's TF. TF is your first 2 letters. It corresponds to FG, which is 65. So make sure you look at the name to make sure you match them appropriately. Then I'm going to cross multiply. I have to distribute. That's 65x plus 65 is equal to 60 times 13, which is 780. I'm going to subtract out the 65, which is 715. Then I'm going to divide by 65, which is going to give me 11. So x is going to equal 11. All right, number 49 is looking for your Pythagorean theorem answer. Okay, so you are going to always know that C is across from the right angle box. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So a could be x squared, b could be 7 squared, or vice versa, but it has to be equal to 13 squared. So x squared plus 49 equals 169. Subtract 49. X squared equals 120. And then you're going to take the square root of 120. So x is going to equal, if you put it in your calculator, it gives you that decimal of 10.954. So I'm going to leave it as 10.95. Now, if you read the directions do say to put it in the simplest radical form. But if you're not sure how to do that and you can't remember how to do that, you could just match your decimals. But with the radical as 120, you could break that down using your prime factors or go to a perfect square. If you just use some factors, you could do 12 and 10. Then you split 12 up to 3 and 4, 10 to 5 and 2, and then 4 to 2 and 2. So you've got 3, 2, 2, 5, and 2. Remember that you're looking for a perfect group of 2, which would be these 2's. So that 2 gets to go on the outside, whereas everything else has to stay on the inside. 3, 5, 2. So 3 times 5 is 15, times 2 is 30. So 2 square roots of 30 is actually the answer that you're going to get in your multiple choice answers. But if you're not sure how to do that, just take that answer choice, 2 square roots of 30, and you're still going to get that exact same decimal. So you could just simply match the decimals and not worry about having to do the simplification. It's totally up to you, whatever you want to do. Okay, last one, number 50. On this one, you're still doing the Pythagorean theorem, but it is going to have 10 as your C. Remember, that's the one that is the most important. And then you just plug in from there. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A could be x, or A could be 5. B could be x, or B could be 5. Doesn't matter with those. C has to be 10 squared. So you've got x squared plus 25 squared, oh, not squared, I'm sorry, just 25, is equal to 100. Then you solve, now isolate x, subtract 25, so x squared equals 75. Now I'm going to take the square root of 75. Now, if you give me the decimal, that's totally fine. I don't care. But, just like I just said, it does ask for your answer to be in radical form. So 8.66 is fine, or 8.67 is fine. But your test is going to break this down. You can use 25 times 3, and that actually is going to be your perfect square. But you could keep going and say 5 times 5. Then you would put your 5s, I need more space. You'd put those 5s on the outside because that's your perfect group, and the 3 would be on the inside. So this is actually your simplified radical. But again, you're going to get ABC choices. You could type that in your radical, or you could type that in your calculator, and you'll see that your decimals will match. So even if you don't know how to do this step at the end, you could still match your decimals. Okay, if you have any questions, you can always email me or text me on Remind and let me know how I can help you. I also have given you a second study guide for you to work out. The answers are on the last page, so you can check yourself as you go. Again, just let me know how I can help you, and I will see you next week.